Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Perspective, and I'm your host, Hugh Lee, the Guru himself. I would like to say thank you all for chiming in and showing the love that you've been showing in the past, present, and the fans that I will be collecting hopefully in the future. Right now, I just wanted to talk about a few things briefly. I wasn't going to take up a lot of time today. Just wanted to get off into a few things. I know that right now the football season is about to be over with shortly. I don't count all that other crap outside of the Super Bowl, like the Pro Bowl or anything like that. I tried to attend and chime in and watch some of the Senior Bowl, but I had a lot going on that weekend. So the Senior Bowl basically was watching me. When I went back through and seen some pretty good highlights, so I'm gonna keep you posted on some of the things that's going around as far as what the quarterbacks committed at in college, as far as going through the transfer portal, and a few other things on top of that. But let me start off by saying, yes, at the end of this one too, I still wanted to give a Super Bowl preview, and I wanted to talk a few things as far as when it goes to football. It's a lot of other things going on too, and pretty soon after I get off into, my next show on Wednesday, the Google Sports Session, after this weekend, heading outside of the Super Bowl. That's the last game that we're going to talk about. But I'm going to start focusing more on what's going on in college basketball from the women's and the men's and focus on the NBA, and because there's a lot of good things are going to be going on too. And I'm gonna be on my social media pages, so I want you to stay tuned. I'm gonna be giving you some breaking news and some things that's going on with some of these NBA trade deadline um, news. Because I know it's going to be some good things going on. Like I seen something recently that actually surprised me, and it had nothing to do with football, and it was Paul George being suspended for 25 games from felon drug policy. So I wanted to talk about things of that nature, and I'm going to talk about it more on my pages when it comes to breaking news and just putting up sports. So, chime into my social media, because if I'm not going to be doing my podcast, of course, I'm going to have a lot of that display for you. And if you're on the Sports Guru to You, my Facebook page, once again, that's Sports Guru to You. And once again, I will put that in my credits before the show ends. Chime in, because I put a lot of breaking news and things that you might not heard of before ESPN and some of the other Bleacher Reports and sports pages is out there. So I just want you guys to be aware, because I get a lot of the good news. I appreciate the people showing love on Facebook, on my Sports Guru to You page, on my regular page, and on TikTok, and as well as my Instagram page. You guys have been awesome, and I definitely appreciate that. Let me get off into a few things that I had on my mind and I wasn't too happy about. And then, first and foremost, I think people don't really understand. I didn't get a chance to do what I really wanted to do. And I wanted to talk about my homeboy, Coach Bill Belichick. He's definitely one of my favorites. I love Coach Bill Belichick. And not only that, I just feel like he's the best coach of all time. I'm a huge fan because I was a New England Patriots fan, and I feel like it worked with him and Tom Brady until it didn't. I mean, they had a really good run. He felt like it was over for Tom Brady, and that was one of the biggest things, or the biggest mistakes, I think, that Coach Bill Belichick made at the time, because I still feel like you could have had a good 2, 3 years out of Tom Brady when he let him go. And I feel like Bill Belichick looked at it like, I'd rather let him go too soon than let him go too late, which I understood. But at that time, he felt like after the Super Bowl, when they played the Atlanta Falcons, that it was time to move on and go with Jimmy Garoppolo. At the time, Coach Bill Belichick didn't think that he had enough in him after that. Robert Kraft thought otherwise and wanted to keep Tom aboard. Jimmy Garoppolo had a okay career as a backup. I just feel like he's a really great backup. But as far as a starter, no disrespect, he did okay when he was in San Francisco, but he only can do so much. I feel like if he had the arm and the mechanics to do everything like he thought that he was ready to do, he would have won that Super Bowl against Kansas City, and didn't work out like that. When you have a wide open Emmanuel Sanders and you miss him, yeah, that was the beginning to the end for Jimmy Garoppolo, and I thought that he lost some of his confidence then. But I don't want to get into that, because That was some of the mistakes I feel like Bill Belichick made. But then I feel like he was a great coach, but as a GM, he started to lose, what he had in that sizzle. And you could tell those last few years after time left. I mean, Mac Jones did good the first year under Josh McDaniels. But after that, it was a flop. When they ended up getting Matt Patricia and wanted him to be an offensive coordinator, that was a disaster. And a lot of people look at Bill Belichick different then. And that same year when Mac Jones went to the playoffs, that was the year Tom Brady went to another Super Bowl. So it was a lot of head scratching at that point. But other than just being a poor GM and giving up on time too soon, I feel like those are the only mistakes that he really made. I feel like in that Super Bowl when they played the Eagles too for not going with Malcolm Butler, that was another huge mistake. But that's just me, and that's my opinion. But no further ado, I want to give my man his flowers. Bill Belichick is widely considered one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. I believe he's the greatest. Best known for his 24 season tenure with New England, 2000 to 2023, as a head coach, general manager of the New England Patriots, and he secured 6 Super Bowl championships as head coach. 333 total wins, second all time, and 31 victories. And I feel like with the 31 playoff victories, that still holds as the most right now. And his key coaching achievements, of course, was the 24 years in New England, head coach and GM, 6 time Super Bowl champion, 17 AFC East titles, 13 championship appearances. And he was with the New York Giants from 1979 to 1990, defensive assistant, special teams, linebacker, coach, and defensive coordinator from 1985 to 1990, where he won 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants. Cleveland Browns, he was the head coach from 1991 to 1995, and he got them 1 playoff appearance. I definitely do recall that. New York Jets, 1997 and 1999, assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. The funny part about that was at that time, I believe after those 2 years that he was with the New York Jets, that Bill Parcells was leaving and they was going to pass the torch to Coach Bill Belichick, and he ended up snubbing them and going to New England, and that was good because after that, I mean, look, you guys, he had 6 Super Bowl wins. I would like to say that was pretty good in my opinion. Most total Super Bowl wins as a coach and assistant with 8. Most Super Bowl appearances as a head coach with 9. Most playoff wins as a head coach with 31. And AP NFL Coach of the Year in 2003, 2007, and 2010. If that's not first ballot, I don't know what the hell is. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I feel like that man definitely deserves his flowers, and he's one of the best coaches we've known of all time. But not getting in right now, I think that they're trying to look at it, and I think Roger Goodell said something stupid recently, saying, "Oh, Robert Kraft's not in the Hall of Fame yet, neither." And he been up for the Hall of Fame and didn't get that opportunity. It took them forever to get Bill Parcells and other players in who definitely deserve first ballot, but I can't really speak amongst them. For the most part, I want to talk about the players who I feel like and the coaches who deserve to be in. And the whole situation with only having one coach, I just feel like that's a joke right now. And I feel like they need to fix that, and they definitely need to do better on that end. I want to get off into some of the other things that's going on too. And yes, I want to get into a little bit of things that's going on in college right now. The top quarterbacks in transfer portal right now, who are in the transfer portal, who or actually was past tense, and who've committed to their new teams. I want to start off, and I want to say this is a person right here who I definitely feel like shouldn't been in that situation right now. I think he should have just set himself down and stayed right now at Michigan State. But Aiden Childs, he went from Michigan State and now he's with Northwestern. Okay. And then you have these two gentlemen, Bynum Brown, University of South Florida, and now he's with Auburn. And Rocco Betch. I felt like did a really good job when he was with Iowa State, and now he's committed to Penn State. Drew Mastermaker. I really was hearing a lot of good about him and how well he was developed and how good he played at North Texas. And we seen the game where he played and he didn't play that bad. Still felt like he needed to, brush off his skills. But I feel like at this point he looked at it and didn't think they had enough talent over there for him. And so he wanted to move from North Texas and now he's at Oklahoma State. And then you have DJ Lagway. I really felt like this brother had some up and down parts of this season where I feel like he had potential. And sometimes I feel like he just wasn't ready to make the cut as a quarterback. That being said, he went from Florida and now he's with Baylor. Sam Levitt, this was very controversial right now with him because Sam Levitt at one point he was with Iowa State, and I felt like at LSU he was going to have a good fit. But then there was rumblings going around, and I felt like he was going to leave because he was disappointed with what was going on, but things didn't materialize. And, he ended up staying put. And I feel like rather than lose him, Lane Kiffin made sure he kept him on his roster and maybe gave him some more money in the NIL. But I don't want to get into that because it was like a thing that never happened. So he stayed put in LSU. And Brandon Sorsby, who I thought was a pretty decent quarterback in Cincinnati, went to Texas Tech. Josh Hoover, TCU quarterback, is going to the University of Indiana. Austin Simons, he was Ole Miss backup quarterback. Well, actually, he was the starting quarterback until he got injured, and then we know how that went. Trinidad Chamberlain went on, and he took that position and rolled with it. And now he's with Mizzou. Ethan Grunkemeyer went from Penn State to Virginia Tech. Kenny Mache went from Notre Dame to the University of Kentucky. And then you have Hussein Longstreet went from USC to LSU. Deuce Knight from Auburn to Ole Miss. And then, of course, you have Dylan Rayola. He was one of the Covenant guys out there who I definitely thought was going to go to Texas Tech at the time. But Dylan Rayola left Nebraska and went to Oregon, give him a better chance, and he stays in the Big Ten. And Darian Mensah went from Duke to the University of Miami. I thought that was a big move because of the fact that I felt like he had a really good season. I'm gonna put him up here again so y'all can see him, Darian Mensah. I might be just, blowing this out of proportion, but I feel like he was a really polished quarterback. He won some big games for Duke. And I felt like he was low key one of the best quarterbacks without being spoken amongst. And at this point, him going to the University of Miami, I knew they was going to give up a lot of draft capital, or they was going to give up a lot to get him to leave from Duke to come to Miami. And Miami is making a team over there to be reckoned with. I feel like they were so close. It was a really good game. I thought that they had a chance to beat Indiana. But at the same time, I had to give my flowers to Indiana and give credit to Fernando Mendoza and what they did over there. They didn't have a single five-star commit. They had a lot of four-star guys, three-star guys, and who just played and bust their ass until they got to the point to where they went and they were respectively in a championship and winning and going 16-0. One of the first times we ever had that in collegiate, football. I mean, most of the teams who won went 15-0. But to go 16-0 at this time and age, hey man, you got to give credit to that organization. I want to go ahead and I want to talk about some of the things too, you guys. If you didn't know this already, the coaches right now and all the coaching positions are full. Mike LaFleur, he's going to be now with the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, you know that Kevin Stefanski is with the Atlanta Falcons. Jesse Mentor went to the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Brady basically went from the offensive coordinator and, are basically helping develop Josh McDaniels to being the head coach. They had to definitely make Josh McDaniels happy. Um, My apologies. I said Josh McDaniels, Josh Allen. They wanted to definitely make sure that Josh Allen was happy because that's where it all started from. And I believe after they ended up getting rid of the coach over there, Sean McDermott, they were saying that they want to do what was best for Josh Allen. And that was definitely best, keeping it in house and giving him Joe Brady. Todd Monken went over to the Cleveland Browns. Clint Kubiak is going to be the new Las Vegas Raiders head coach after the Super Bowl, of course. Jeff Hafley was the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and now he's the new Miami Dolphins head coach. One of the biggest hires was the New York Giants getting John Harbaugh. And then you have Mike McCarthy, who was a Pittsburgh, fan, hometown boy going back, and he's coaching now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then, of course, you got one of the best defensive coordinators in the game who actually was with the New York Jets, who left the Jets and went back to San Francisco after being released. And now he got a legit job now as the Tennessee Titans head coach. I definitely hope it work out for him this time. And one other thing I definitely want to talk about is I want to get into this Super Bowl preview. I don't really have too much to say about who's going to win or who's going to lose right now at this point. Like I said, I still feel like the favorite is the Seattle Seahawks. Do I feel like they're the favorite by a lot? Not really, because I feel like the strengths and weaknesses, which I will get into, going into Wednesday, and I'm gonna focus a little bit on it now, is I believe when it comes to the wide receiver core, I believe Seattle has the slight advantage, with Jackson Smith and Jigma. No disrespect to Stephon Diggs. The defense is pretty much even. I feel like people don't give credit where credit is due when it comes to the defense of the New England Patriots. But if I have to give credit, I feel like the linebackers have a little bit more of an advantage with Ernest Jones over with Seattle. But then when you look at it to the cornerback play, surprisingly enough, I do like Devon Witherspoon and I do like Talik Woolen, but I give the advantage to New England because of the fact is I do like the guy Carlton who was over here, with the Detroit Lions. I definitely like Carlton. And I feel like not only he's a good cornerback, but I do like what they have over there with Christian Gonzalez as a young cornerback right now who's pretty much shut down. And I don't think people give credit where credit is due. Quarterback play, I would like to say the slight advantage would be possibly for Sam Darnold, even though I feel like Drake may had an MVP season. But when it comes to overall, though, I feel like the offense is a little bit more polished when it comes to Seattle. The defense, kind of to the point where it's a slight advantage for Seattle. Like I said, I give the cornerback play an advantage for New England, but the linebacker play, I would definitely go with the guys over when it goes to the Seattle Seahawks. That's their win. But the biggest X factor is special teams. I feel like special teams right now, the advantage would go to the New England Patriots because I feel like that's one of the weaknesses of, well, I can't say that's the weakness of Seattle because their special teams are just as good. But yeah, but if I had to look at the guys who return the ball back, um, man, with Marcus Jones, and then you have Rashid Shaheed. I'll probably go with the Rashid Shaheed advantage because he's fast as lightning. No disrespect to Marcus Jones, but when the X factor is to me, Mike McDonald, I love him as a head coach, and I feel like he did a tremendous job from last season to this season right now. But I would have to give the slight advantage to Mike Vrabel at this point. But yeah, I would definitely say now the Super Bowl prediction when I said the actual gap or how much they were favored by, it went down slightly as well. It went from me from a 3.5 to possibly now a 2.5, still favor Seattle. But like I said, at this point, I've had talks with some of the talking people, like some of my homeboys in sports, and I hear a lot of talking head people talking about this as well. They still don't feel like it's a huge advantage. They said they see where Seattle can win this game, but then they still see at the same time where it's not really a big advantage, and they can see New England Patriots winning. So that's where we're at right now. But at the same time, I want to get into the college with the most players in the Super Bowl 60. And that is, of course, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have 7 players from Alabama on the Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks active rosters. Christian Barmore is with the Patriots. Anthony Jennings is with the New England Patriots. And CJ Dupre is with the New England Patriots. Jerron Reed is playing for the Seattle Seahawks. Josh Jobe is with the Seahawks as well. Robbie Oates is with the Seattle Seahawks, and Jalen Milroe. I forgot that Jalen Milroe was the backup quarterback on the team because Sam Darnold's doing so well. The NFL averaged 18.7 million viewers per game during the regular season, the second highest since audience average began and being kept in 1988. The per game average on TV and digital platform was a 10% increase from the last season, 17.5, and up 7% from 2023. According to the league, and Nielsen is also was just off the record of the 19 million, which was set in 1989. And one other stat for Mr. Sam Darnold had 78.3 passer rating over the first 6 years in the NFL from 2018 to 2023, worse than the league over that span from minutes, which is 1,200 attempts. No other quarterback in NFL history had the league's worst rating over the first 6 years in attempts, with 1,200 attempts at that, and then later started a Super Bowl. This will be definitely a good way for him to end this season and go out on a journey to have one of the best ratios or turnarounds in NFL history as far as a quarterback. Like I said, he had one of the worst ratings in a 6 year span, over 1,200 attempts, and he can definitely be a Super Bowl champion. You've seen in New York where he had the coaching staffs. No disrespect to New York. That team was still a struggling team, and they're still struggling right now. I don't remember when the last time they went to the playoffs, maybe 17 years ago. That's what I'm going to put the stamp on, and I'm going to go with that and say they was in the playoffs last 17 years. Then when he left New York, I remember him going to the Carolina Panthers. Things didn't work out there. He ended up going to San Francisco. And I believe when he went to Kyle Shanahan and he developed a rapport and he played pretty well at the time when Brock Purdy was injured, which he's starting to have a lot more injury seasons where he'll be out for a few games. And that's where Sam Darnold went in and shined. I remember him being on the Vikings and as well. He played really good with the Vikings. I was really surprised to hear the comments recently said too, because Justin Jefferson was saying he felt like if they would have kept Sam Darnold, that they would have went to the not the Super Bowl, but they would have definitely went to the playoffs and had a chance to make it to a Super Bowl. I feel like that team has everything a roster needs but the quarterback, and that was their biggest downfall. And I feel like too, this is just my opinion. Either Daniel Jones or with Sam Darnold, they would have went deep into the playoffs because they have a really solid defense. The offense is good, just a really good squad right there. Brian Flores getting that extension was the best thing that could have happened to him because he basically got an increase from being the best defensive coordinator in the game right now with what he had. You can say what you want to about that team and say they were the last place or they was the worst team. No, actually, the Detroit Lions was the last place team. But the thing is, they beat us twice in the season with quarterbacks they had no business beating us with. You know, JJ McCarthy was one of them. So that being said, and then losing to a third string quarterback too as well, I just have to say that defense played a big part of that. So I have to give credit where credit is due. And I definitely feel like that's not too far off saying that if they would have had a Sam Darnold or either Daniel Jones, they would have made a deep run in the playoffs. That being said, congratulations to Sam Darnold for all he went through. And this year it really took me this year to believe in that young man. And for what he's did, and what I saw too, and I saw it with my own eyes when the first game when I seen against the Rams when they lost, and he threw 4 picks, and they still could have won that game. They had a chance to win. I feel like if they could have got up a little further, like in the 50s, to kick that field goal, because I think it was a 61-yard field goal. And it went off, and it wasn't even close. But I believe if it was like between 55 to 50, they could have possibly won that game. And he played like crap that game. So the next game, I looked at that and I seen he threw 2 picks. One of them went back for a touchdown. I said, oh, they having problems right now. And I didn't like the way that went. But then he turned around and still won that game, even though it went to overtime and they had chances to win and they let them go and take it into overtime. They still had a chance and they went for it. Mike McDonald had a ballsy play with the 2-point conversion, and I think he was the fourth option as well. And they won that game. And then recently, when they played and they ended up winning the division, I said, yeah, I definitely feel like this team is evenly matched. And I have faith in Sam Darnold. But at the same time, you got to give credit where credit is due because Drake May, I feel like he's a really good, polished player right now. He's played and had a not too good of a rookie season, but you can see the potential with him. It felt to the point where you rushed Gerard Mayo, and I feel like that wasn't a good idea. I believe they should have went with Mike Brable from the jump. Yeah, he would have had his growing pains last season, but I still feel like the potential with Drake May and what they actually did as far as the free agency and gathering some talent around that team on defense and then putting Mac Hollins and Stephon Diggs on offense. They already had Keyshawn Booty and a lot of good guys who didn't really get the credit where credit was due on that team. And now I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, man, it's been 2 years in now, and just them getting the defense shored up and getting some people in free agency and getting a couple of people that help with his growth and development on offense, man. Here we are. We have a Super Bowl team intact. Right now, I don't feel like Drake May is the MVP, but he had the most coveted title of them all right now, and that's winning the Super Bowl. So, yes, that's why I'm saying right now I give a 2.5 favorite right now to the Seattle Seahawks, and it might go down even more than that because I still feel like with this game and how New England play and Mike Vrabel and his game planning, I still feel like it's an advantage to have him as their coach, definitely from that Bill Belichick tree as well. So yeah, like I said, I gave a slight advantage to the Seattle Seahawks, but that might change going into the end of this week, especially tomorrow. That being said, I would like to say thank you all for chiming in. You can catch me on my social media platforms. You can find me at Hoovy, WHOOVI on Instagram, the Sports Guru to you on Facebook, and Hugh.Lee6 on TikTok. I would like to say thank you all for chiming in and showing me love and support. The 68 subscribers on YouTube. I would like for you guys to go on my YouTube page, click that link, like and subscribe. And I would like to say thank you and give shouts out to all the people on the Nighthawk Network, my sister Harriet, who chimes in, my nephew Deanie, and all my homeboys from Facebook who showing love and support. And I would like to say thank you all for just, believing in your boy. My homegirl Julie showing me that you can make your dreams a reality. Steve and Mo and Nicole for, the first ones were saying I should get into this business because of what I know and the gift of gab. And I like to say thank you all. And depending on how things go next week, I possibly might take the week off and focus on the Wednesday show. And we got a good treat for you guys too, because if I'm not mistaken, this Thursday, unfortunately, we was going to do another show, which was Martin, but the passing of Desmond Wilson, Lamont Sanford, we all know him as Lamont Sanford. Yes, I believe that now that we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the Sanford and Son. So we're going to do advertisement for that starting today. And until then, I would like to say peace, have a blessed day, and thank you all. And I would like to, before I get off of here too, I can't forget my cousins from down south, Rita and Leon. I love you guys too, and thank you for checking in on me and subscribing to the page as well. Have a good one, and God bless you all.